Hello, my biddies. How are you today? Sorry, still fighting along. Um, we're gonna start off normally, but I wanted to give a trigger warning in ahead of time and after our middle segment, which is after expectation versus reality. And after my spiel, we are going to be watching some very disturbing videos that I that some people may be sensitive to. So I wanted to give you a warning. If you're sensitive to violence, you may not want to watch them. So you can skip that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with you skipping anything. The thing about it is, and the reason I'm showing it is because I think it is important to know what is going on in our country. Um, this is why during Vietnam, journalists were showing what was going on in Vietnam. And that is why Vietnam stopped. Not because we won or lost or whatever, but because people didn't like what was going on. So, what is going on is not acceptable, is not normal, is not anything that should be happening. And now they've killed a verifiable US citizen who just done nothing as far as I can see. Um, so we will be showing those. I will be showing you a Tizian video that shows the actual shooting and the aftermath of what they did. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. If you're not, that's fine. Please skip it. It is not for everybody. If you're sensitive to things like that, there's all kinds of reasons people can be sensitive to things. And if you are, that's okay. That's your life and your business, and that's okay. But just be aware that things are going on that should not be going on, and it's wrong, and it's so wrong. And I'm still coughing up a lung. I did just take my decongestant, so hopefully I will improve instead of deteriorate today. But who knows? So we're going to start with the reality roundup, and as I told you yesterday, we're going to skip Sister Wives until it's done. It may be done forever, but I don't think so. So we're going to do Balin Out Loud today, and the title of the episode is "Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety," and I can understand that. I think we all may be able to. So we talked to a toping head. What the heck am I even saying? Oh my goodness. I slept good last night too, despite having coughing fits before I went to bed. And I didn't take a decongestant last night. It is getting better, I think. The coughing. I always have the coughing afterwards. It's ridiculous. Sometimes candy helps, sometimes it doesn't. I have a couple Three Musketeers, maybe the sugar will help. I don't know. Sometimes the sugar does help me. It's weird. I don't understand it. And Jolly Ranchers, which I have, but I haven't been taking. I should. I have so much other candy that it's weird to talk with food in your mouth, don't you know? But they'll come out of the blue. Like I'll be fine for a while, and then I'll just have a coughing fit because I got that irritation in the back of my throat. It's just annoying. That did kind of help. I don't know how it works. Okay, reality roundup, Failing Out Loud. Your anxiety is giving me anxiety. Which have you witnessed that? Like, have you experienced that? Because I've experienced that. We open to a talking head of Balin and Colin discussing who lives in England. She's naming people off like Gordon Ramsay, who I believe is Scots, not English. And he just kept saying they have a king. They have a king. They have a king that lives in the castle. It's pretty cute. They're going to the UK imminently, but first they are meeting with the wedding planners. Planners say they have a budget. They have to up their budget or lower their expectations. So they're not. So they're going to look at flowers to see if they can come up with something less expensive than what they were budgeting for. Um, Seems like she's picking a lot of roses, which are extremely expensive, but not. Probably, I think there are more expensive flowers, but she says no lavender because it makes her tick, the smell of it. But she says it sucks because they're really pretty and she likes them. Likes them to look at, doesn't like to smell them. And they point out that the flowers are sold per stem. So you're paying for each flower, not a bundle of flowers. They make a very beautiful, very expensive looking arrangement. Like there was a lot of flowers in it, a lot of colors. Colin's just seeing dollars. It says he's just seeing dollar signs. He expects between 7 and 11 grand for the flowers. Turns out it's only $100 flower arrangement, which is like on the real low end. I'm surprised because there were a lot of flowers in there and at least 4 roses. Colin said bailing and saving money are things that don't go together, so he's pleasantly surprised. And it worked out that she was going by colors rather than flowers themselves. She said she doesn't care what the flowers are. She wanted a flower arrangement that reflected her own personality, colorful, kind of chaotic. They're still talking about changing the venue, which is apparently way expensive. Malin said she'd rather have a backyard wedding than go to a courthouse, and Colin says that's a hot take. I don't know what he meant by that. She said she wants a dream wedding because she never thought she'd get a wedding at all because she didn't think that anybody could love her with her Tourette's. And Colin, it seems like a catch, honestly. Colin is discussing his flight anxiety. He doesn't like his life being in someone else's hands. Don't worry, Colin. I think it's mostly autopilot these days anyway, so your life isn't going to be in anybody's hands. It's going to be in a computer's hands. Do you think that would help him if he knew that? Probably not. He doesn't even like ride shares because he doesn't like other people driving. I know people who don't like other people to drive. They would prefer to drive themselves. Valen says he's allowed his anxiety and his feelings, but when she's also feeling anxious, she can't hear, "We're all going to die" on the plane. She says she's not going to talk to him because she thinks it will make her anxiety worse. She's not telling him to suck it up, but it's going to be difficult to have 2 anxious people flying together, and that would be. It's a really long flight too. It's like 8 hours. I can't imagine being anxious for that long. Talk about exhausting, because anxiety is exhausting. At least it is for me. Luckily, I don't have a lot of anxiety. I don't like bridges and I don't like heights. And I can avoid those most of the time. But if I had to do 8 hours on a bridge, driving back and forth on a bridge, I'm fine if I'm walking, weirdly. But if I have my kids around, I'm anxious because I'm afraid they're gonna, especially little kids. I'm afraid they're gonna like do something silly. Because kids don't think. Kids don't think of consequences all the time. So if they're doing something silly and like flip over the side, I'm terrified of that. Even though I would, no, I know I would. I would jump right in and try to do something about it because I've already done that before. Balin is gathering some clothes and asks Collins if he thinks it's enough, and he says we're going there for a week, not a month. And she's clearly laughing and not serious about it. They're just being silly, which is good for your anxiety to be silly and laugh about it. So they're leaving the next day for London. She's ticking a lot and is worried about the reaction for British people to Tourette's because a lot of Americans don't react well to it, and she doesn't think that the British will either. And honestly, I think it's probably close to the same in both places. A lot of people haven't been exposed to Tourette's at all. They don't understand it, just like they don't understand trans people, and you're afraid of things that you don't understand. And when you're afraid of things, you tend to act either aggressively or um, or you laugh about it. And that's not always a good, neither one of those is always a good response to people. So if you didn't weren't aware, she has a bad tick in regards to bald people. She always, if she sees a bald guy, she has to call it out. It's not something that she controls. It's Tourette syndrome. She'll even she learned that it's illegal to call in the UK to call someone bald in the workplace. And it actually just became sexual harassment here for us in the US too. Which I don't understand because women can be bald too for numerous reasons. Bald is normally just a descriptor like hair color. Like you can't tell them your hair color if you're bald, you know. And yeah, you can get teased for being bald, but you can get teased for a lot of stuff that's not sexual harassment. So we cut to the parents' house where Julie's packing. Her mom is also joining the trip to help the boys. The youngest boy is 11. Can these teenage boys not behave themselves or something? Because why? Why do they need to be supervised all the time? The older boys can supervise the 11-year-old. I get why he might need a little supervision. But the older two are teenagers, like driving and stuff like that. Like they don't need supervision like little kids. So I don't get that. Alan says that if Balin gets too overstimulated, she can be on the floor in a fetal position for 3 or 4 days. 3 or 4 days. That sounds awful. Poor Balin. I hope that does not happen. Baelish is just asking. Okay, then we go back to Balin and Colin's apartment, and she suggests asking for help with the wedding from her parents because of the finances. He says he's happy to ask for help, but doesn't want to ask them for money. Which honestly, that's a smart idea because first of all, people that sometimes when people contribute money, especially to a wedding, they also think they can contribute their opinions on how the money gets spent. And honestly, her parents seem like that type of people. And by opinions, I mean demands, of course. Um, they could offer to pay for the catering or something. I mean, that's what my family did. We had a very, very cheap wedding. In my grandma's backyard, actually close to where my dad's house is now. The house wasn't there then. He says he hates asking people for money from other people, and I get that. I completely get that. I hate that too. I like to take care of myself. She thinks Colin and Alan need to spend more time together because they have not gotten along well. He says he doesn't, or Alan says he doesn't understand how Colin could be in the Air Force with flight anxiety. And Julie tries to explain that not every job in the Air Force has to fly, and she is correct. There are lots of ground jobs in the Air Force, at the airport, at the airport, lots of ground jobs to do with aviation. So you don't have to fly if you work in aviation. It's not a necessity. Alan is worried about how Colin is going to handle Balin's ticks in public. And I think he'll be fine at least until takeoff. He seems pretty calm and steady most of the time. And these parents give me anxiety. Their anxiety gives me anxiety. So I can imagine why all of their kids seem to have some sort of anxiety. Beckner, who's 11, is looking up how old you have to be to get a tattoo in London. Like he's going to get a tattoo. He says he'd want a cross with Jesus hanging on it. Yeah, like nothing. There's nothing like getting a Bronze Age torture device permanently affixed to your body. Like, honestly, the crosses can go away. They're kind of gross, to be honest. Balin is back in their apartment putting ranch in little containers because they don't have ranch in London, apparently. It's silly because, first of all, you can live a week without ranch. You're an adult. And B of all, just put a container of ranch in your checked luggage. Nobody cares. You don't have to take it on the plane with you. They'll have ranch on the plane. I thought my grandkids were bad about ranch. That's ridiculous. I don't think when they're adults they're gonna have to need ranch for everything. And adults shouldn't act like this, and I hope it's a stunt for the show, honestly. Colin says that don't go to restaurants that don't have ranch. Like, I don't know of a restaurant that doesn't have it. Like, can you think of, I mean, maybe a Chinese restaurant? Just, it's weird. They may, no, Chinese buffets have it, so you can still get Chinese food. Balin is getting disability assistance for getting on the plane because she had such a hard time last time she flew. If you don't remember, she ended up in the fetal position on the floor in the airport. Colin hopes the captain is experienced. Colin, all the captains are experienced. They wouldn't be captains if they weren't. But he is doing a great job with her, by the way. Her parents are 20 minutes out, so Balin and Colin are going to go ahead without them. Alan thinks that's a good sign that they're doing that. I believe this flight had to happen after July of last year because no one's taking their shoes off at security. And I know this because I flew in May and had to take my shoes off, both airports. And then we flew in July and didn't have to take the shoes off at all. It was great. Went so much faster. Security is so much faster when nobody is trying to screw around with their shoes. They're letting Balin pre-board. They only use the wheelchair to get to the gate, which is cool. But her legs are locking up on the way onto the plane and to their seats. And they're in row 75. Just an off comment, the plane has a 2-3-2 seat arrangement. I hadn't seen that very often. Colin doesn't like that he is not sure the pilot isn't 19 because he didn't get a glimpse of them. I'm not sure there are any commercial pilots that are only 19, Colin. That only happens in the military. Even then, it might not happen then. Or it would be pretty unusual, I would think. Julie thinks Colin's going to pass out. He's not even that bad. The parents are hyperbolic, and it drives me nuts. And next week, they will be in London, and it looks like a pretty good time, to be honest. Looks like they're going to have some fun. Some of the Londoners they were talking to seemed pretty hilarious, to be honest. Some of them not so much. All right. A little bit of lung there, sorry. So our first read, we're just going to go to the Reddit reads, I guess. Is from Entitled People, and it's entitled, She Treated No Like It Meant Try Harder, and I got mad when she didn't, and got mad when I didn't. I don't know what that means. It's happened a few weeks ago, and it's still bugging me more than it probably should. I said no to something very clearly, very calmly, no sarcasm, no attitude, and somehow that turned into a whole thing. Not a fight right away, just this weird vibe where she acted like my answer wasn't final, more like a starting point. He doesn't say who she is, which is kind of obnoxious. Like, who is she? Is she your girlfriend? Is she your mom? Is she your sister? Is she a stranger? Is she a friend? Who is she? She asked me for a favor that would have taken a big chunk of my time. Not an emergency, not important, just one of those, it would be nice if you did this for me requests. I said no, briefly explained that I had plans and honestly didn't have the energy. That should have been it. Instead, she smiled and said something like, okay, but what if we do it this way? Like we're negotiating a deal or something. I said no again. Then she tried another angle. More explaining on her side, more reasons why it wouldn't be easy for me. Why it would be easy for me. And then jokes came like, wow, you're really stubborn today. Then the guilt stuff. I guess I just thought you'd help. So she's being manipulative. At no point did she actually accept the no. She just kept reframing it like I was being difficult on purpose or playing some weird game. The part that got under my skin when she finally snapped and said, you could have just said you didn't want to help. I think that's what no means. I literally did multiple times. Apparently, in her head, it doesn't count unless you give a full emotional essay, defend yourself, and make other person feel bad about it. No is a complete sentence, and you don't have to explain yourself. If you don't want to do something, you can say no. It's fine. When I eventually stopped responding and just disengaged, she told other people I was being rude and incooperative. Like I owed her persistence because she asked nicely at the start. It was honestly wild to realize that to her. A polite refusal wasn't a boundary, it was a challenge she was supposed to push through. Entitlement wasn't loud or dramatic, it was quiet, smiling, and reasonable, which somehow made it feel even worse. And when someone tells you no, say, okay, appreciate you, responding or whatever. Just accept it. Not everybody has to do anything for you. Cold Swordfish says some people think this is okay behavior and it is not. No means no. It is not a negotiation. This person used to get to whatever she wants by wearing them down like she was trying to do to you. Prepare to put up with the victim routine. I don't think she's going to give up easily. Yeah. Then they'll act like, "Oh, poor me. Poor me. Poor put up on me. You didn't do anything for me." Yeah. Magura de Gilfu. Gift do. I started using that with my kids when they push back, and it's just no, it's not a negotiation. Works so well, I may start using it with adults. My mother and sisters are the type described by OP almost every single time looking for solutions when I say I can't or won't do something. Last time I have an appointment at 1400, so no, I won't meet you at 12:30 to eat in a restaurant with my baby that is at least 30 minutes away from where I need to be. Amazing Hamster says I tell my kid asked and answered if they keep pushing. Recent Gas says I work as a substitute teacher, and the entitlement of kids these days are crazy because they're getting it from their parents. It's the entitlement of the parents that's causing the entitlement of the kids. It's astounding how, when giving an instruction to do an assignment or read a passage or whatever it may be, at least 2 or 3 kids tell me they do not want to. At school, just like at work later on in your life, you have to do some things you might not want to do. That's just life. You have to do all kinds of stuff that you don't want to do. You'll live through it, promise. It's astounding how, when given instruction to do an assignment or a passage or whatever, at least 2 or 3, I already said that. At least 2 or 3 kids tell me they don't want to. I look at them and say, it was an instruction, not a request, so it's not optional. Get to it. And then they stress again how they don't want to, and at which point I usually reply with something as I don't care, with a direct stare or complete lack of attention, whichever seems right at the moment. You should see the looks on their faces when I say this. It's like they completely glitch out, because how can an adult not cater to their whims? It blows their mind, and that I don't care about their feelings at that moment. Being a Christian wife. Ew. Oh man, I'm so glad you shared this. My son is 6 and this is how I parent. We've started a whole thing about want and need over this summer, and about a week before Christmas, his teacher sent home classwork my son had filled out with the definitions of want and need, and I filled down the validation right there. Lots of people don't want to do things, but we have to do things that need to be done, whether we want to or not. Yeah, I don't want to do the dishes. They need to be done. No one else is going to do them. If I tell you to do something, you're doing it. Kids will always test the adult and try to get away with not doing things, but it shouldn't be ongoing. Try a few minutes and learn from the experience. Clearly, if they keep doing it, they're either pushing a boundary or getting away with it, or too stubborn to learn. My son just follows the rules now because he said, well, the teacher said this is the rule, so that's what I do. And that's how it should be. This is the rule, so that's what you're going to do. He also complains to me about kids that don't follow the rules. I get that. I'm like, oh, I can totally see that from such and such family's dynamic. The next top commenter is, the next time this person asks for something, I would reply, no, is a complete sentence. I assume this will be the end of the matter. You should say that now, because she's still going to press. She's still going to press. This says completely blocked driveway. Oh, it is. Okay. White car has been completely blocking my driveway for the last 6 hours. I don't recognize this as a neighbor's car. I don't need to go anywhere until 7 a.m. My concerns are they are still there in the morning and I missed my appointment because I can't get towed early enough. I have two small boys at home and nighttime hospital trips have happened. Small probability, but it still makes me uneasy and it's Christmas. What should I do? Have it towed. And there is a picture. And you can see that so this is the driveway on the other side that looks like it's partially blocked too. But this is clearly her drive, as you can see where the sidewalk kind of goes up and down. So yeah, she should have it towed now. Hi, Lauren, baby, how are you? I'm clearly still. Did you get my cold? I was with Lauren, baby, on Saturday when I started not feeling well. Well, I started not feeling well on Thursday, but that's good. She's all right. Cook knows says I would have called it towed 6 hours ago without thinking. Yeah, if it's been there a while, you cannot block a driveway with your car. She says she's cold free, so that's a good sign. Hopefully I didn't get this from my son on when did he come over? Saturday after Christmas? That would have been 2 weeks. Nah. Couldn't have gotten it from him. OB nurse at your cervix. OB nurse at your cervix. Because she's checking. Call to get it towed now. I've done that before. Actually, I called the cops first and they tried to get a hold of the owners. He says, thanks. Cops helped get the owner to move the car. Oh, that's good. Okay, cool. So she did get it moved before anything happened. So that's good. Next, we have malicious compliance entitled, Sorry, No Returns. This happened about 17 or 18 years ago when I was working as a partsman at a small store in Calgary, Alberta. I had a regular customer that drove me nuts. There's always that regular customer that drives you nuts that will not be satisfied no matter what you do. And I have a story about that. If you want to hear it, let me know. He would get ideas on what he wanted to do to modify his truck, buy some parts, and then return them when he got another idea that he wanted to do instead. He was working on a mid-19s Ford F-150 4x4 and wanted to swap an 8-lug setup for bigger brakes. I've done the swap on my own truck and knew what he needed and offered advice on what he would need to do. But he's read online that it was as simple just buying the parts from an F250 and changing them over. I tried to explain to him why that wouldn't work, but he said to me that I was wrong and he knew what he was doing and to just get him the parts he asked for. By this time, I was just, okay, fine, and wrote on the invoice that the parts removed from the original wrapping were unreturnable. He took his parts and tried to install them on his truck, and what do you know, they didn't fit. He tries to return them as usual, but this time they have been taken out of the boxes and during the installation process been greased up and are quite dirty. We told him that there are no returns and that he signed the paperwork when he got them. Wow, did he complain, saying that he buys all of his parts there and spends hundreds of dollars at our store. Okay, and? But it's true that after all his returns, he only spent about $370 total at the store. It sure was nice not to have him as his customer after this. Froglet says, I used to work at a parts warehouse supplier that sold parts to the retail automotive stores. So often we would get someone from the big box regular customer retail places, that customer asking for a very niche part for a very niche and usually not standard purchase. Then we'd have to go 20 rounds about why it can't be returned when it didn't pan out right. This is awesome. I wish we could have done that. Thank you for stopping that one at the store level. But yeah, but he's just going to go to your store now. He hasn't gotten he only got rid of by one store, not all the stores. Second top comment is from something I can't pronounce. Some of these names are like Spock's name, you just can't pronounce them. Back in ancient times before the 2000s, I worked at a dealership as a parts salesperson. We would earn commission on every item sold over a certain amount, and body panels were especially fruitful as they were higher margin than most other parts. Many of the local auto body repair shops would purchase their parts from us in order to obtain an invoice and then go out and buy aftermarket body parts and return the genuine parts to us for credit. They did just as a mean of pulling extra profits on jobs, despite the practice amounting to insurance fraud. Yikes. Yeah, don't do insurance fraud. Suspicion were that the insurance assessors were in on it. It wasn't all the time, but it was often enough to be a real PETA. These MFers were playing with our salary. Anyway, one particular repair shop was especially egregious about it and went so far as to laugh anytime they returned the stuff. The nerve of people. Talk about entitlement. He says manglement. He definitely means management. He says manglement, and I wonder if he just calls management manglement, because that would make perfect sense. That would be awesome. Manglement didn't want to do anything about it as they are valued customers. Why? They keep returning the stuff. You don't make any money off of them. And we, as lowly salespeople, were powerless to do anything other than complain to each other. Then one fateful day, our direct manager saw opportunities elsewhere, and I applied for it and got the position. Within the first 2 weeks, I had drawn up spreadsheets of all those crappy valued customers and just how much they were spending. Shocker. It was not much. They only kept the parts that couldn't be obtained aftermarket. I brought those spreadsheets to the very first general management meeting and laid it all out on the table. Hundreds of thousands invoiced, hundreds of thousands returned. Return on stock investment was a negative territory for all of these shops. Senior management reeled. The fallout was bad for senior management, with bonuses hit hard and lots of explanation behind closed doors that I was not privy to. Policy was enacted by the end of the week and the practice was halted. Letters and emails were dispatched to the offending shops, and every invoice had wording changed to include clauses that ended the practice. Oh, and the smile on my face as those repair shops swore never to do business with us again, only to come crawling back when we were the only ones within hundreds of miles who could buy they could buy from is something I'll never forget. That had to be great. That had to be great. I can't imagine the smugness. I would be so smug. Next we have AITAH. AITAH for not changing my language to appease an ignorant coworker. I, 34 male, work in an office in a technical field, approximately 30 coworkers and higher ups. The problem is I have a coworker, 28 female, Sarah. The problem started before Christmas when I went to the break room and got a call from family overseas. We talked in my native language for about 10 minutes and about my family friends back home, and we were wrapping up the call. When I hung up, I saw Sarah looking at me with an angry look on her face and asked what's wrong, and she accused me of being a racist. Oh, Sarah. Sarah. Not my Sarah. My Sarah is a much better person than this Sarah. You're racist. I was very confused when she said the N word. She said I said the N word, which confused me even more. She ran off, and in a few minutes, the HR director walked to my desk and took me to her office. After a very confusing conversation, I finally figured it out. One of the words we say, you, in my native language sounds like the N word. Like barely, but I explained this to the HR director, who was at first disbelieving. After a bit of Googling on my phone, I showed her, and she relents that I'm not racist, just a fluent speaker in my own language. Then the HR director asked if there was any way I could not accept personal calls at work. He wasn't at work. He was in the break room. He was on a break. You don't get to tell people they can't be on a break at work because somebody's racist and bigot in your office. I said, sure, if you make a directive that no one can. She balked at that and tried to hem and haw her way, only to make it so only I couldn't, but kept gently nudging how prejudicial that sounded until she asked if there was any way I could use that word. I was speaking my language. No! How do you expect someone to have a conversation and not say the word you? That's insanity. What is with this company? What is with this HR director? Like, do you hear yourself? Amused that that would be possible, but it would make the sentence structure meandering and almost too formal and clunky, so I'd rather not. She said if it was possible, maybe I should. I asked if maybe she should stop using a New England accent, and then she thanked me for clearing up the misunderstanding and let me go back to work. The HR director, before holiday break, sent out an email explaining that there was a misunderstanding due to the use of foreign language in the office and that should respect everyone's cultures. A very open ended and vague email that solved nothing. Always is. Always is. They never directly address the person that's the problem. My family rarely calls me at work simply because it's nighttime when I work, and they only call me during during my birthday and holidays. So this is not really going to be an issue. And I would rather try to find out a way to dance around saying you in a conversation. I told the story to my friends during a Christmas party, and one person asked if it was really a hill worth dying on. Am I the a-hole here for not trying to compromise with HR? No. It's silly. You may want to find a way to document this incident with Sarah and HR's awful response in case it goes up again. HR's response was insanely unethical and prejudiced and could be grounds for discrimination complaint. Dang. It hits out of the blue. I'm going to hit again, and this is my last candy. Snoo says, NTA, you may want to find a way to document this incident with Sarah and HR's awful response in case it comes up again. HR's response was insanely unethical and prejudiced and could be grounds for a discrimination complaint. Eagle says, I agree, but even if OP doesn't document it, it's still 100% defensible. There's a lot of Korean speakers in the world that can attest to the word's meaning. Oh, so apparently he was speaking Korean. Ginger Gallon Dog says, thank you. Uneducated white girl sitting here trying to figure out what language was so offensive. Sarah didn't know if foreign language was being spoken. Sarah sounds racist and ignorant or just too stupid to recognize context. Exactly. Next highest rated comments from Loving Wisdom. It says, NTA, tell them you will happily stop using the word you in your native language if they stop using the you in their native language. May drive home the point how stupid it is. Yeah. Try to go around for a day not using the word you. I don't even see anybody most of the day, and I can't not use the word you. Silly people. Next is Benign Existence, and it says, entitled, My Dog is Sleep Farting Right Now, and I have no one to tell. My 5-year dog is sleep farting. It's the first time I've ever seen or heard him do this. He's snoring and farting at the same time, and I've been laughing quietly for a while now. My parents are asleep, and I have no one to share this, so I'm posting it here because it's genuinely hilarious. Oh, that's nice. Graves' disease girl says, my Rottweiler farted so loud she woke herself up once. The best part, she was also snoring. Oh, doggies. What? Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Now we have an evil building. It's entitled An Abandoned Wanli District UFO Houses in Taiwan. I don't know this evil. It doesn't look evil to me, honestly. It just looks like a sci-fi scene from a sci-fi movie. I'm glad they want peace. Do they also want to go to your leader? It's kind of cool, actually. That's stairs, though. Because you can't see the last E. Doom Kitty Doom says we want peach. Oh, there's a good video about about the houses, so I'll have to save that for later. If you guys want the video, link to the video, I will put it in the description if you request it. Of course, I missed another one that has is this number at the top? No, I didn't catch it. I've been catching a lot of them, but the locked posts I cannot catch for some reason. So, oops. Okay. Sorry, I caught two of them early. So we're gonna miss X Mo and X forcibly cut my son's long hair because it wasn't manly enough. Oh wait, nope. Then we're missing mother-in-law told my 4-year-old she could live with her. Um, hmm. I don't really have any more. I guess we'll have to go back to last month. And last month, I do have a couple from last month. See if this is up here. Okay, here we go. So this is from Just No Mill. Ended engagement of the 11th hour because of mother-in-law. I feel great. I was about a month away from getting married, but my fiance insisted that her mother live with us. That could be a hard no, depending on the mother-in-law. So now my ex-fiance bought her home a couple of years ago, around the same time I closed on my own home. Meanwhile, her mother and youngest brother were in the midst of being evicted. Her family decides that mom has to move in with her. However, there were delays about her closing, and mom had to move in with the eldest sister. Me, uh, my ex-fiance closes on her home and asks for a month to enjoy her space. Eldest sister said, weighing that, and worked with the other siblings to make sure mom transfers her job close to the ex-fiance's home and drops mom off on her. She has a house. Why can't she just get an apartment? And to make matters worse, mom, 68, works part-time in retail and uh, sends all of her money to her youngest son, despite him now living with the mother of his youngest child. Strange, huh? Anyway, as our wedding gets closer, I raised concerns about the mother living with us. I was going to rent my townhouse and then we'd save up and buy our forever home. Ex-fiance and sister mother must stay with us, despite having 4 other children that can step up. She and sister mother is saving money to move out, but she's almost 70, working retail and sending her money to her youngest son. So I tell my fiance that her family has to set her up that the mom will essentially live with her until she dies, rent and bill free. So long story short, I tell her that it's me or her mom. She chooses her mom, and I exit stage left. I get about 50 phone calls a day begging me to reconsider, but my mind is made up. As long as mother-in-law is in the picture, there will be no marriage, and I feel amazing. Sounds like you didn't want to marry her anyway, to be honest. It sounds like there is enough stuff going on with her and her family that you were done. You were just done with it. And that's okay. There should be no marriage, regardless of mother-in-law being in the picture or not. You've shown where you stand on the priority list. Why would you even consider marrying that woman? Exactly. This is petty revenge, a hold my beer moment. I get a knock on my door. A nice man explains he's building a home on the lot next to us and would like to know if we would let him get water from our garden hose. I don't see an issue and agree. For weeks, the hose is used as they dig down, put up supports, lay the pipes for radiant heat. I'd never seen how it was done, and he was happy to show and explain. Nice guy. They worked 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They were no bother at all. Unfortunately, I never caught his last name or phone number. Once the house pad hardened, the a-hole carpenters arrived. Apparently, the carpenters are not as nice as the foundation guys. 25-year-old foreman with an attitude and four guys younger than him. They blocked my driveway, parked on my lot, blared music, lousy music. They showed up a lunchtime, showed up at, it must be at lunchtime, worked and hammered until after 9 p.m. Every night I came home and their dang fast food uh, lunch trash was in my yard. 3 times I walked over with a handful of crap, showed it, and told them to clean up. All I got was attitude. I began to collect the trash. The day they painted the house, 10 p.m., I walked over with a staple gun and stapled every piece of trash to the side of the house. It was wood OSB. No idea what that stands for, but wife and I call it old crappy bricks. It was beautiful, a work of modern art, so I wish I had taken a picture. Next morning, Mr. Attitude is stomping in my direction. He points and yells, screams and yells. I laugh. He stomps away. 15 minutes later, police car arrives, something I had definitely not expected. Talks to them, then talks to me. 20 minutes later, Mr. Nice shows up, talks to the cops. The carpenter disappeared. I got an apology from Mr. Nice. Next morning at 8 a.m., a crew of older guys arrived to finish the house. That's awesome. That is some really good petty revenge. Really good petty revenge. Anything in there? I was hoping the decongestant would help, but it's just making it worse. Next we have, am I the jerk? The ITJ for telling my husband I want a divorce in front of his sister after she invaded our privacy again. I, female, 35, have been married to my husband, Mark, 37, for 6 years. We had an ongoing issue with his family lack of boundaries, particularly his younger sister, Amy, female, 29. Mark's family is very close-knit, which I respect, but their enmeshment often infringes on our life as a couple. 2 years ago, Amy went through a bad breakup and needed a place to stay. Mark offered our guest room without consulting me. I wanted to be supportive, so I agreed to a 2-month time frame. But Amy ended up staying for 8 months. You always should times by 10 how many months they're going to stay. She moved out early. During that time, she constantly overstepped. I would come home finding her wearing my clothes, using my expensive skincare products, and even sleeping in our bed when we were out. That's kind of not necessary. None of that's necessary. She would eat the special treats I bought for myself and monopolize our shared spaces. Mark always made excuses for her behavior. Even after she moved out, Amy would show up unannounced at all hours, letting her stuff in with the key Mark gave her. I repeatedly asked him to set boundaries, but he accused me of trying to come between him and his family. Oh my goodness. Final straw came last week. I came home from a stressful day at work and looking forward to a relaxing bath in our master bathroom. I walked into our bedroom to find Amy napping in our bed again. She'd gone through my closet and was wearing my silk robe. I would have been so mad. I lost it. I woke her up and told her she needed to leave immediately. Mark came in and started defending her, saying she needed a place to crash. No, she doesn't. She has her own place. She moved out, remember? In that moment, something in me broke. I turned to Mark and said, I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce. Amy looked shocked. Mark started arguing with me, but I held firm. I told him I was done having my privacy invaded and my needs dismissed. I said I would be filing for divorce first thing on Monday morning, and I wanted Amy to hand over her key and leave for good. I felt awful springing that on Mark in the heat of the moment, but I had a breaking point. He's blown off my concerns for years, and seeing Amy in her bed again, in my clothes, I just couldn't take it anymore. So tell me, AITJ, for announcing that I want a divorce in front of my sister-in-law after she violated my boundaries one too many times. No, but I bet Mark didn't see that divorce coming at all. It just came out of the blue one day. She announced to me in front of my sister I wanted a divorce. That's how I see that going down. Traditional film says, NTJ, sounds like there was more than 2 people in your marriage. Well done for laying your boundaries so firmly. And they're asking for an update. I wonder if she did update. Nope, no update. She needs to update. Oh. I'm looking forward to an update. I hope we find one sometime. And now it is time for expectation versus reality. Son is having a hot dog themed birthday party, and I attempted to make a cake he wanted. First picture is what he wanted, second is what I made. And this is a cute little cake. I mean, who wouldn't want a hot dog themed birthday with a hot dog themed cake? Lauren Baby could do this. She's a good artist. Oh, that turned out really nice. It's much smaller, but the hot dogs turned out great. Could be a little more red in the hot dogs, and that's all. That's the only comment I have. You got your relish and your mustard and your ketchup. It's nice. Good job. Good job, OP. All right. And it's that time again. If you have not already, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I try to go live at least 4 times a week, usually about noon Eastern. Tell your friends, your family, and your enemies so that we can get more subscribers. If you have a story of your own or come across a good one in the wild, please send us an email entitled submission. If you would like an email link to the current day's live, because I set it up earlier in the morning, send an email entitled subscribe. The email is biddybrunchbunch, all one word, @gmail.com, and it is also in the description for your convenience. Okay, so the next whole segment here is going to be very disturbing, as I said at the beginning, but I think it's important that you know what's going on in the world. I'm going to show you a couple of very, very disturbing videos. Extremely disturbing videos. So you are warned. If you need to, take a break for like 5 minutes. This is Tizient. If you aren't familiar with him, you should be following him on all the things. He often he finds people. Well, people send him stuff now, but he he finds people. He finds people doing wrong things, and he's very good at it. Okay, so let me make sure my okay, it's on. Well, this is the best way to do it.
To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. That was the mayor of Minneapolis telling ICE to get the fuck out of his city because they just murdered one of its residents. An ICE agent shot a woman in the face and killed her because they claim she was trying to run him over with her car. The only problem is there were people there recording video when it happened. Video shows she clearly cuts her wheel to the right to avoid him. And warning, because here is that video now.
Get out of the fucking car. No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking...
She clearly avoided him, which is why he was able to stand next to her driver's side window and shoot through it into her face. This is the man. This is the guy who shot her. That man right there. This guy shot a woman in the face and ended her life for no good goddamn reason. And when bystanders were understandably upset, they shot at least one of them in the face with a pepper projectile. That's what they think is the best way to de-escalate and handle the situation there after a woman was shot and killed. And then a doctor was not allowed to perform CPR on shooting victim by ICE agents. Kept them from performing CPR. There's also reports that they kept ambulances from getting in at first. But despite all that, despite the video that shows she clearly wasn't trying to harm them, Kristi Noem calls the woman who was killed by ICE agents a domestic terrorist. Fuck you, you dog murdering bitch. But don't you worry, the FBI is going to investigate. You know, Kash Patel's FBI, the guy who said that there were no kids trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, the Epstein files, which, by the way, they've barely released 1% of the Epstein files so far for those keeping track. The crack detective is on the case. So I'm sure that that woman is going to see justice, right? Are we sick of this yet? I got to tell you, the rest of the world is getting pretty sick of hearing about it.
To ICE?
So, on the Jeffrey Epstein thing, by the way, my husband told me last night or this morning that those redacted files that they said that they had been redacting as fast as they can so they can get them out, they're redacted back in April. Just saying. Just saying. They were redacted in April. You cannot trust this FBI. You cannot trust this government to be telling you the truth about anything. They claim she was a protester. I've heard that she was just trying to leave her house to go get her kid. Her kid is 6 years old. Kid doesn't have parents anymore because she was a widow and his dad's already dead. And his grandparents are in Colorado. So who's taking care of this kid? So anyway, that's that. Sorry, Lauren. I'm not ignoring you, but I don't know what that person referred to. So I'm kind of ignoring it. All right, this is the second video, and it is of what he shared about the doctor not being allowed to render aid.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician.
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on the scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor. You caught your butter in the face. You killed my neighbor. How do you show up to work every day? How the do you do this every day? You're killing my neighbors. You're stealing my neighbors. What the man?
Can I go check a
So they wouldn't even let a doctor go see her. I heard that they kept the ambulances out for 15 minutes after the ambulances finally got there. They claim they have medics, but no one was there. They lie like they breathe. Lauren says ignoring her should be the default. No, it shouldn't. We're supposed to be interactive. You gotta be specific because I forget things as soon as I say them. So if you think there's going to be an investigation, hopefully this guy can go up on state charges. Because if they can get him on state charges, then he can't be pardoned or anything by Trump. So that's a good thing. All right, now we need a palate cleanser, right? By the way, best palate cleanser I have right now is my lemon fudge that I made. It is awesome. It's really good for palate cleansing. This is in Park City, Utah. Why is it entitled? Well, I think it's entitled something like, what, $30 million will get you in Utah. And I'm going to remember to share today because I didn't yesterday. I'm dumb. So it's $30,000, 8 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms. Why do you need more bathrooms than I mean, more than one? If you have 8 bedrooms, why do you need 10 bathrooms? 8 seems like it should be plenty. 13,282 square feet. And it's another roundy house. Why do we have so many roundy houses? That's very pretty. Although I would not have that many lights on ever. The artwork's interesting. I'm sure that's not staying with the house, though. It just looks like modern art, doesn't it? Um, is that the kitchen or is that that's just a bar, isn't it? Nope. No, I think there's a stovetop over there. That's a pretty cool kitchen. I like it. 2 sinks. 2 sinks to keep clean. Oh, wait, if you're buying a $30 million house, you probably aren't cleaning your own sinks. I wouldn't be if I was buying a $30 million house because I would know I could afford it and I would not. Okay, that's too much light coming in the window for a bedroom. Is there any window coverings at all? Sorry, I like to sleep, especially in the winter or in the summer, I mean, after the sun comes up. That's nice. I want to replace our gas fireplace with an electric one. I think we would use it more. That is cool. That is neat. You got yourself a whole parking lot here. You could have a party. It's fake grass, which is kind of strange. I didn't think Utah was all desert. Fake grass is kind of weird, sorry. Another of the dining and kitchen area. Another drone shot. It's neat that they have all these drone shots now. We didn't used to have those. So it's kind of cool. You have a whole separate building over here. It looks like one we've seen if it's not the same one. I don't think it is. Because I don't recognize parts of this. So there must be an architect in the area that builds these roundy houses. I think the other one was from the same area. Or at least one of the other ones. I wish my island had a sink, to be honest. I love all the storage space down here instead of up here because I'm short and I can't reach it up there. So I would definitely love the bottom storage stuff. And this is like all hidden. Look, the stoves are all hidden behind the scenes. It's interesting. We have lots to go. There's like 62 pictures. That is an interesting bathroom. I do not like that sink at all. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. That looks like a fancy shower. Oh, you got seasons, so it's not desert. I don't know why they can't grow grass there. And we have downstairs with a microwave and I don't know what that is. It's not, doesn't look like a dishwasher or an oven. Maybe it's just drawers. I don't know. A place to watch TV. You gotta have your place to watch TV. What? TV's too high, by the way. That's also a subreddit. TV too high. There's a pool table. I bet that doesn't stay with the house either. Oh, we have another TV. We have a nice theater room. I like that. Ours is downstairs. Not going to be a theater room, though. Look at the toboggan as decoration. That's kind of funny. But I guess you have the hills for it. And the weather. A pool and a spa. Pool and the spa have water in them while it's snowing. How does that work? Are they that heated? Because that would cost some money. That would cost you some bucks, heating a pool during the winter like that. And the summer picture, and the night picture again, and the top picture again. I swear some of these just repeat themselves. So, this is in Park City, Utah. 8 bedrooms, 10 baths, 13,282 square feet. That's 1,000, not 100. Only 2 full bathrooms and 6 3/4 bathrooms and 2 half bathrooms. 2 partial bathrooms. That's more than 8 bathrooms. Only 2 on the main level. It has a dry bar, walk-in closets, floor drains, blah, 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 blah. Basement has walkout. 14 fireplaces. Why do you need 14 fireplaces? So they have forced air, central gas, radiant, and radiant floor heating and central air. So it is heated. I don't see anything about the pool. Private pool, heated. It is heated. In ground, yeah. You're paying some money to heat a pool in the winter. I'm just saying. Prism Flary says that movie theater should have a bigger screen. No deal. I'm still waiting. It says it's comically small compared to the rest of the house. Oh, that's funny. Next, we have Traumatized Them Back, and it's entitled, You Lost So Much Weight, You Look Great. So I used to be really overweight. I don't know how much exactly, but my heaviest was about 30 stone. I don't know what are stones. So this person is not from the US. I glandularly started losing weight deliberately, but not a huge amount, not that quick. After maybe 18 months, I was down to about 26, 27 stone. Then lockdown happened. I had a bit of a mental break, work in healthcare already and have some mental health issues, and this pushed me over the edge. I basically stopped eating for 6 months. I did still eat, but not much. Sometimes days in between, like maybe a biscuit or a carrot. Over this time, I lost about 9 stone, and the 6 months bring me down to about 18. I continued to lose weight as I was eating more normally, again, much slower. Then I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetic. Not really important, but anyway, the restrictions lift, and I go out to see people, and a lot of people say, wow, you look really great. How did you do it? Or something in effect. And I tell them the truth. Always looking slightly horrified after. Sorry for formatting unimmobile. It's kind of rude, honestly. Like, they don't know what you went through, and it's mean, to be honest, to tell them, to bring them, to traumatize them on purpose. You're just trying to be a bitch. I don't like it. Like, they don't know how you work. You look good. Say thank you, and that's all you have to do. You don't need to go into your mental health. That doesn't need to affect other people. Now, if they're being assholes about it, that's different. But if they're giving you a compliment, just take the compliment. Why is that so hard? Next, we have confession, and it says, I stayed silent about my best friend's affair, and I regret it. I can kind of understand that. I need to confess something knowingly did wrong. For years, I knew my best friend was seeing another man while being committed in a relationship. When she got married, I stayed silent. Dude, why? I told myself it wasn't my place, but the truth is I chose comfort over honesty. I regret not speaking up before it was too late. By staying quiet, I became part of the lie, even if I wasn't the one cheating. Right. The wedding is over, the marriage has begun, and this is something I will have to live with. I'm not proud of my silence, and I wish I had handled it differently. Alternative Pop says it asks if she's still going on with her cheating ways. And there was a comment, but it was removed. B Fields says, my best friend once asked me if I would ever cheat on my wife, and I told him I won't answer that question. The reason I won't answer that question is because you are my best friend. And why would I ever burden you with having to sit across from my wife all the while knowing I was being unfaithful? I love you too much. I would never do that to you. But to answer your question, no, I never cheated. I never ever cheat on my wife. I remember my friend being really struck by my answer and letting it really sink in. 15 years later, on his deathbed, it was found out that he was having a double life with many, many women. He was a traveling salesman, so it was easy for him. Everyone asked me how I could be so close to a friend and never have any idea he was cheating. I always go back to my answer. My friend made sure I'd never be burdened by his affair. I'm beyond devastated by what he did to his wife and kids. I hate him for it. At the same time, I'm profoundly relieved that he left me out of it all. It allows me to help his family heal and with total authenticity. Yeah, he turned out to be not the person you thought he was. That's really sad. This is interesting AF, and it's a Chinese bed company introduced a unique model of bed for couples. So let's share this. And you can tell the girls are thrilled about this too. Oh my god. Oh jeez. That's wrong. No, absolutely not. Oh, absolutely not. No, we're not doing that. Thank God. Oh, you guys, this is so silly. Yeah, I'm buying that for my kids. Sorry, I can recover. Oh, the Asians come up with the most wonderful devices ever. Oh my goodness, they have the best game shows. If you've never seen a Japanese game show, you should go check them out. They're funny. Oh, this is from Am I the Asshole? Would I be the a-hole? Would I be the a-hole if I asked my husband to stop cooking breakfast? My 31 female husband, 34 male, is a creature of habit and has made himself the same breakfast every single morning for the past 10 years that we've been together. A tofu scramble with various veggies made in a cast iron skillet. For years, I would barely notice his cooking in the morning. However, a couple of years ago, I started getting distracted while cooking and would walk out of the room to sit down on his computer and start thinking about work for the day. He will claim that the stove is off or on super low, but the result is almost every single morning, food smells burnt, like burnt oil, and is just awful. I found the smell to be revolting, and a few occasions have had coughing fits from the smoke in the air. He usually disagrees and says that isn't any smoke in the air. You can usually see the smoke in the air. Cast iron skillets are famous for that. Squirrel. At present, a couple of factors complicate this even more. We recently moved into a very old house with terrible ventilation, and the fan for the stove just recirculates the air around the kitchen. I'm also pregnant and struggling with morning sickness and food aversions, and the smell of his nasty burnt breakfast makes me feel so sick and irritated. I try to stay calm when thinking and talking about it, but internally there is a fueled rage towards his breakfast. I hate it so much. I despise it. I've tried talking about it to him a couple of times, and he says he'll be more careful. He doesn't seem to understand how irritating the smells are to me. This morning I was in a work from home meeting for my office when he again left his food unattended on the stove. The smoke filled my office and I was struggling not to gag and cough. At this point, I wanted to demand that he either A, stop cooking breakfast entirely, or two, get a blacktop and cook outside so I don't have to smell it. While I think I'm not the asshole, he has demonstrated unsafe practices with cooking this morning and he burned his food. It makes my morning sickness worse. While I might be the a-hole, this breakfast has been his daily routine since before we met. It's ritual at this point. He also doesn't see the things I do. Say says that his food isn't burnt and he doesn't really leave it unattended and I'm being sensitive. Well, he's clearly leaving it unattended and it's clearly getting burnt because there's smoke in the air that she is choking on. um Glintha says a simple honey, you accidentally left the stove on as you vomit in his lap or his laptop, your choice. Might go a long way to save the problem. Particular gift says you're nice. I was gonna comment to throw up right in his food, but I'm not nice. um He needs to stop leaving his food unattended on the stove. He clearly is. You need to make a rule that either he's in the kitchen when he's got the stove on or he doesn't make breakfast. One or the other. And if he doesn't do that, maybe you have to move out. I don't know. You might have to move out, which is really sad. But he's not respecting you. He's not respecting your needs. And he's abusing your skillet. He's abusing your skillet because it shouldn't be burning like that. Next, we have from Overheard, and this is entitled My Two Youngest Wrapping Christmas Gifts. So this is probably cute. My two youngest sons, 16 and 21, okay, so they're not kids, are trying to wrap my mom, Christmas gift while I'm sitting 2 feet away, mind you. My 21-year-old is gay. This is relevant. 16 to 21. Stop, you're not cutting the paper straight. 21, what difference does it make? 16, look, I know you struggle to do straight things, but at least you can cut straight. 21 just looks at him. 16, that was funny and you know it. 21 says, yeah, that's why I didn't smack you. There, it's only like slightly less terrible than if I'd done it myself. 16 to me. Aren't you glad you have such talented sons when it comes to rapping? Now they're debating which side is the least awful to make the front. Honestly, their terrible rapping adds to the charm. I love my sons to pieces. LOL. Winghead says sibling bickering followed up with a compliment on a burn received. Chef's kiss. You're doing great, Mama. Well, they're grown, so she did already do great. Sparkle Penguin says, well done for raising functioning men. My kids are 9 and 10. This year I gave them money and got them to buy presents for everyone in our house. Then I taught them to wrap presents, mostly because my partner didn't wrap a single present until he was 32 when he moved out with me. He's 47 now and wraps like a blind cat did it, but that's fine. I didn't have to do it. Our kids will be better. Yeah. Yeah, your kids will be better. Actually, my husband wraps better than I do. I'm the one that wraps like a what did she say? Blind cat. I'm the one that wraps like a blind cat in our household. My husband wrapped most of the presents this year. I did the running back and forth, so it was fair. This is true off my chest, and it's entitled, My Husband Just Confessed to Lying for Me for 2 years. In 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 3 kidney cancer. Oh, I'm sorry, OP. I had major surgery to remove the tumor and my kidney. My husband took a leave of absence from work and helped me through my difficult recovery. During that time, he spent a lot of money on medical aids to help me be comfortable at home. Special shower share, rolling table so I didn't have to leave the recliner, fancy heat pads, etc. A few months later, we took an 18-year-old girl from our church congregation who had left home because of an abusive situation, but ended up couch hopping with people she barely knew. I'd been her youth leader, and I was worried she was going to end up in a SA situation. So we offered her our spare bedroom rent-free, and she had some medical issues that kept her from getting a steady job. Well, she figured out what she was going to do next. During the 3 months she stayed with us, a lot of small things went missing. That's not ever a good sign. Some were items I lent to her, and some were items that just mysteriously disappeared. We were able to arrange for her to move in with an older sister in another state who she had a positive relationship with. We helped her get packed and got her on the plane, but there was a lot of things she left behind, and she said she just didn't need or want. I started going through her room to clear everything out and hopefully find the missing items. I didn't find anything that had gone missing except for the fancy heating pad my husband bought me during my surgery recovery. I found it in the bottom of the box of her stuff that she said we could just throw out, and I was so happy it wasn't gone. That was 2 years ago. I'm currently pregnant with our 4th child, and my back has been killing me, so I pulled out the heat pad and have been using regularly. Today I mentioned to my husband how glad that he bought me the heat pad and what a huge help it's been. He got really quiet and confessed that he's been lying to me for 2 years. He said we never found the original heat pad. It just felt terrible that mine was gone, and he didn't want me to think poorly of the girl that we had helped out, so he bought a new one, opened it, and stuffed it in the bottom of a box she left behind. He knew I would go through it and find it. When he told me he had been lying for the past 2 years, I was bracing myself for a terrible confession, but no. He just felt bad that I still thought it was the original and that he'd snuck it in behind my back to replace it. He says he feels better now that he doesn't have to hide anymore. I'm just feeling spoiled at having such a wholesome hubby. Well, that turned out to be much better than it could have been. Last Invictus is the top commenter saying, came here thinking the worst and left a little bit happier. Yeah. Why was that girl taking stuff, though? She had to have been taking stuff, right? I thought after she moved in and stuff started disappearing and never showed up again, I thought that they had gotten into financial difficulties and the husband was selling things off, pawning stuff. But apparently that's not even what happened. It was the girl stealing things. I hope the girl grows up and stops doing stuff like that. I understand how she's in a state where that might be the thing she needs to do for a short time or thinks she needs to do. But I have something in my hair. What is in my hair? Can't even get it. But I hope that she matures and understands that no matter how she's been hurt by other people, these people are trying to help her, and she actually did harm to them. So what do I do? How do I respond to my grandfather's unhinged rant? Oh, this is a good one. This is kind of what we're about. This is like a theme for the day. Ice. So this is a text from the grandfather, obviously, and it says, Sage, I have reviewed the TikTok video you have reposted that alleged kidnapping and illegal detention and torture by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Well, yeah, because that's what they're doing. Sorry, dude. I also have enlisted some very competent IT professionals, and the consensus is that the video is AI. If true, this would cause me to take whatever actions possible to address the problem. I would also like to have you know about your grandfather. I guess that a lazy definition would label me as a conservative, but I have long seen my political views as constitutional originalist. Well, then you wouldn't be for torture because that is in the Constitution as illegal, sir. A word I made up to fit my beliefs. No, you did not make up that word. Constitutional originalist has been around for a very long time, sir. You are not. You are not a linguist, sir. Thus, I see the government through plain words of the Constitution. Okay, you can see the government through plain words of the Constitution, but unless you know the history of how those words came to be, you can't be a constitutional originalist because sometimes what you see as plain words have more things behind them because words change over time. The legislature makes laws and the executive administrates the laws and is also responsible to defend the nation and its citizens, and the judiciary is supposed to adjudicate the law. Unfortunately, judges make laws. No, judges do not make laws. Justice Roberts made a law when he decided that ACA fees were taxes contrary to the text of the law. He didn't make law, he interpreted it. They adjudicate the law, meaning they interpret the law. And that's how he interpreted it. And that doesn't mean he was right, but that's how he interpreted it. Legislatures and judges are attempting to interfere with the executive's constitutional role. Both the legislature and the judges have interfered with the enforcement of the law. Oh, shoot. I was supposed to be this with you. Sorry. etc. Both CT senators, Connecticut must be Connecticut. Both Connecticut senators are in violation of their constitutional duties and oath of office. One has openly stated that its constituents are illegal immigrants, not citizens of the state. That doesn't matter because the plain text of the Constitution says people, not citizens. The others tried to usurp the power of the president. Yeah, right. And now there is an entire political party who are openly attempting to undermine the enforcement of drug laws. No, there's not. These are the same people who call their opponents Hitler, fascists, racist, bigots, and worse. Because they are. I have the most of the Constitution memorized. Really? And wonder how many elected officials have ever even read it once. By the way, I did not identify with the Republican Party. I haven't for over 40 years. I used to think that Jefferson was close, but the more I learned, the less I liked him. So in the end, I'm a confirmed contrarian and grumpy old man, especially politically. I think the government has become a large, corrupt organization that makes the mafia look like a bunch of amateurs. Congress alone has to be the most dishonest yet powerful group of criminals in America. Have you met the president, sir? This is why I examine very closely allegations such as in that video. I know the path traveled in Germany that was so horrific. Well, if you did, you would see the very plain parallels. My heart is broken that the world which my grandchildren will inherit will not be free. She answers, I need some time to formulate a more thought-out response to the rest of that, but at least for the first part, I can assure you the video I shared is not AI. And there's plenty more substantial evidence out there than a TikTok video that displays the illegal arrest, confinement, and deportation of fully legal residents and citizens. Even if those who were undocumented and deported, a majority have no criminal record, and those who do have one is typically nonviolent, far from the rapists and murderers ICE claims to be targeting. And this is obviously the grandfather again. Some additional information about me. BA in physics and mathematics, MF in health physics, PhD in biophysics, about 200 papers in the medical literature. I considered history, but I was also too easy, so chose something that would challenge me. When necessary, I mastered new techniques, methods, and instruments. I have worked with many others and so still have connections. I can say that in my career, I was one of the best. Oh, we got a braggart here. So I know things about COVID, which I can't tell anyone. Yeah, right. Sure you do. I'm also very sure of my sources and the information about events I have. However, it seems that this is not going to be a profitable discussion, so we can conclude now. Of course, you want to shut down the conversation because it's not going the way you want it to. I still and always will love you, and it's an unconditional love. I will not let politics interfere, nor will I let it be a defining part of my life. Oma knows that nothing of our communication, and she desperately needs your connection with you and your sibling. A phone call now and then would let her know that you love her. It appears that you and I have an insurmountable problem communicating because you're a stubborn old man and don't understand truth. So please don't let it destroy your relationship with Oma. Yikes. That's all I have to say about that. OP says, I need some outside eyes on this since I'm pretty stumped and exhausted dealing with my OPA, maternal grandfather. For context, I reposted a video with the prospective testimonies of fully legal immigrants who had been detained by ICE, sharing the inhumane treatment they were subjected to. My OPA apparently saw it a few days later and sent me this. The first response for me is the only response I've given, and it's been several days now since I don't know what to make of this or where to start unpacking it all. He says a lot, but I really can't wrap my head around it right now. I don't know what to say or do at this point, or if I'm maybe overreacting and being so upset and thinking the last bit with my Oma is really guilt trippy. No, it is. It's really guilt trippy, dude. You're not overreacting at all. Only thing I've sent back to this last message is the thumbs up. What do I do? So there's an edit. So comments have been locked, I think, but I want to share the link with the original video since I got some questions about it, and suddenly I can edit the post, which I couldn't do before for some reason. Also, I did give an update on what I plan to do. and have done about this situation in this comment. So the comment says, update, I went to bed after posting this last night and just waded through a bunch of the comments, so I'll address a few things that were brought up. First of all, thank you to everyone who gave their insight, thoughts, and opinions. I appreciate you, and you've given me a lot to think about. Second, this isn't the first time my grandfather has done this. He always pulls out the credentials. He did it before when he tried to justify his transphobia towards me. I'm a trans man, so he, him, please. His degrees are legitimate, but I've seen a lot of people say it feels more like he's asserting authority and dismissing me than anything. Yeah, it does. I mean, he's trying to diminish your opinions that you've formed yourself. Lastly, he has family. I love him. I love my Oma, and they are very important to me. I've definitely considered cutting them off after past issues, but I can't bring myself to do it. My Oma doesn't even have social media. She doesn't have a cell phone. She doesn't have any tech apart from the TV she can watch Judge Judy on. She's very isolated. She has severe anxiety and intense fear of technology. Well, that's really sad. Really, really sad. She needs to get out. Most places have a senior center that people can go to get out of the house and get some interaction. So I do want to call her and talk to her more. As to guilt trippy as the mention from Opa felt, whether it was that or the intent, I do agree that she shouldn't suffer because of my issues with Opa. That's good. I mean, at least you can agree on something. I've been thinking as I've been reading through the comments that the least I can do is set a boundary directly with him that I won't discuss politics with him. If I want to keep a relationship with him, that's what I think I'll need to do. There's no getting through to him. There's no convincing him when he's set in his ways like this. As much as it would be easier to just cut him off, I don't want to. I think I need to go the more difficult route and try to maintain something more civil than we have now. I'm going to keep posting political stuff because it's my own page and I think it's often information that needs to be shared, but I'm not going to respond to him if he brings politics up again. That's very fair. And make sure he knows that you're not responding to political things and that you're on your page and you have a right to post anything you want, and he can scroll through if he doesn't like it. But he shouldn't be mentioning it to you if he wants a relationship. Again, thank you to everyone who responded to give me their opinions on the matter. I'm going to try and write a response that set a boundary and we'll see where it goes. Okay. Sarcastic it's a gift. Sarcasm, it's a gift. Says, I wouldn't respond. You'll just frustrate yourself more and give him the big reaction he was hoping for. The Dalbatross says, this, sorry, but Grandpa's not interested in discourse. He's interested in flexing how smart, informed, and politically astute he believes himself to be, and I believe that's true. There's very little in his message that said I'm interested in discussing this, but a lot says here the irrefutable reasons I'm right. In my humble opinion, not worth your time, trouble, or frustration to even respond to this with anything more passive of a note of acknowledgement. At times we all argue or play devil's advocate for amusement, but when it comes to real crap, we actually take to heart. We have to choose our battles, and those are only productive when both parties are fighting towards similar goals. That's not the case here. You're fighting to support a real point. Granddad is fighting for sport. Active Public says, imagine calling yourself a constitutional originalist and then saying the legislative branch is interfering with the executive branch. Exactly. Their co-equal. It's their job to interfere with the executive branch. The entire purpose of the legislative branch is to tell the executive branch what to do. And that's the whole wanging point of a representative democracy. I'm not sure this guy even actually read the Constitution. And Tim said, I mean, he invented the term constitutional originalist. I told you he didn't come up with that term. Oh, there's one for mildly infuriating. What would you find this mildly infuriating if you received? Looks like they're still in the store, so I don't think they're going to buy it. But there's a bee in the honey. Is this bee honey or honeybees? It says, at least I know it's organic. Oh, I'm glad we have that palate cleanser on there. Now I think I might go read The Bee's Life. Okay, another one we're sharing. This is from Am I Overreacting? It's entitled AIO for thinking this text was really uncalled for. And it says, so cute, glad you guys had a safe trip. LOL toilet paper. I want to get my stash and it was gone. Hoped it served you well. Now I have to make a trip into town tomorrow. Between that and you all leaving your trash, I wish you could have been more considerate. You are old enough to know better. How well is that 200K college degree serving you? I know your mother taught you better. There's an attitude in something to take advantage of people that have nice properties, and that's not going to get you far in life. I would need more context. Okay, for context. I did a work trade for this woman in the summer where she let me stay at her spare 1-bedroom cabin on her property in exchange for 10 hours of work a week. I was there for 3 months. When I moved in, she had a thing of TP on the roll and then a dozen rolls under the bathroom sink, which she pointed, saying there's extra under there if you need. Okay. I noticed she had a huge Costco-sized pack of TP in her garage, which I never touched. Once I used the ones under the sink, I bought my own, never taking from her supply. As for well, then you just remind her that there's toilet paper in the garage, ma'am. As for the trash, I had a couple of bags that I took out of the trash toter. I did not leave trash inside. I deliberately cleaned the space before I left. She was super friendly and we got along great. My partner stayed with me for the last few days and we were there, which she okayed in advance. Again, we got along really well, so this text shook me. My question is, what is this behavior? Is she okay? Why would she say such hurtful things? I moved out over a month ago, and we've had nice texts back and forth since then. Name and town redacted for discretion. Thanks for reading. Silly Artist said, since it's been a while since you were there, I would assume the message was for someone else staying there after you. I would, however, reply just to make sure. Something like, hi, Susan. Although it's great to hear from you, I am puzzled by the message. We didn't touch the toilet paper stash. Purchased TP while staying at your lovely place and took all the trash out. So I'm thinking either this message was intended for someone else or you have had a break-in. Either way, I hope you're doing well and all the best. I don't like soup says it's quite funny that Susan seems to use her stack of TP as a test, as she clearly insisted about it when OP and then caught it at the next one with their hand in the cookie jar, so to speak. Man, those brownies. Oh. Okay. Next we have Best of Redder updates entitled AITAA for accusing my sister-in-law of emotional incest and ruining Christmas. I mean, possibly. The original post was December 19th, 2025. Sorry for all the grammatical errors. I'm still pretty... Now I have the hiccups. Great. I, 24 female, have been with my husband, 26 male, for 4 years, married for 2. Everything is great between his family and I consider us to be very close, including my sister-in-law, 22 female. Not that haven't tried to build a relationship with her, but I was warned by my husband the first time meeting her that she's very territorial of him. Red flag for the sister-in-law. And she has definitely lived up to that. That's not good. This territorial behavior has reared its head many times while we were dating. Some examples would be asking my husband to sleep in bed with her on my first vacation with his family. That's gross. Do you really want to sleep with your brother's people? Because I don't want to sleep with mine. After my father-in-law said he got my husband and I a separate room. Well, that was nice of him. Accusing me of being a gold digger and grooming her brother. He's 2 years older than me. Sitting on his lap during our rehearsal dinner. That's gross. The list could literally go on and on. I do want to preface by saying that every time she steps out of line, my husband and my in-laws correct her. But when called out, she always blames her BPD, borderline personality disorder. Her horrible actions are always forgiven. But after her behavior at our wedding 2 years ago, where she basically sobbed the entire day and pretended to faint during our first dance, yes, I know she was pretending. My mother in law called her out in front of everybody, and it was very embarrassing. My husband had to have a talk with her and set some firm boundaries. She sounds like a trip, man. Since that talk, she still calls and texts my husband daily, but has pretty much stayed away from me and has kept her outward dislike for me and public attention seeking to a minimum. Well, that's good, I guess. That brings me to tonight, which is December 19th, remember. My in laws always host a huge Christmas gathering the week before Christmas for all the family, including distant relatives. We've always had a great time, and I managed to stay cordial with sister in law despite the dirty look she was shooting at me, but this year is different. We announced that we were 10 weeks pregnant. Oh, congratulations, OP. That's awesome. My sister in law threw a fit, ran out of the room loudly sobbing and slamming her bedroom door. That's a weird reaction to learning that you're going to be an aunt. Leaving what was supposed to be a happy time dead silent with a few awkward congratulations. My mill rolled her eyes and went to follow, but I stopped her and told her that I could go. I was hoping that this would finally be a time where we could actually have a conversation, and maybe I could get her to finally tell me after 4 years why she felt like I was such a threat. I was wrong. I knocked on the door, went in, and she immediately screamed at me to get out, but I asked if we could talk. I knocked on the door. Oh, sorry. I honestly didn't even know what I was going to say to her, but I didn't have to say anything because my husband and mother in law came in behind me. My husband very harshly asked her why she always had to ruin things to get attention. That's been his stance the entire time. Not that she has an unhealthy attachment to him, but that she has a constant need for attention. This is not a constant need for attention. There are other ways to get attention. She asked him why he was so disgusting, which obviously left him confused. Then yelled, "You wang her, it's disgusting." Oh, yeah, generally, people who are married do the wanging thing. Pretty regularly, actually. My husband, being his usual snarky self, said, "Yeah, sometimes multiple times a day." She's my wife. What's your point? Mill laughed, and that sent her into a rage. She started screaming and hitting him like a freaking toddler. By this point, I had had enough. I can't even remember what all I said, only that it's the only thing that was disgusting was her emotionally incestuous fixation on her brother. And OP is not wrong. I asked if she wanted to wang him because it kind of seemed like she did. I realized I was screaming by the end of it. She just covered her head with a blanket and cried. My husband tried to uncover her, but Mill took husband and I downstairs. When we got down there, pretty much everyone was leaving, and father-in-law looked like he could punch someone. So my husband and I left too. I cried pretty much all the way home, with my husband trying his hardest to assure me I did nothing wrong. You didn't, and I'm sorry that you were crying, because your sister-in-law's the one that should be crying, because she's weird. When we got home, he told me to sleep and went out the garage while he called his parents. I feel bad because I do love my in-laws and I don't want to ruin our relationship. Now I'm lying here questioning if I spoke out of turn, implying that it was more than just attention speaking. No. um that's not just attention speaking. That's just weird behavior. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, you just said out loud what your husband should have said from the beginning. I know he spoke to her for what she did to in your wedding, but what about all the other things? All the things she said about you sitting on his lap? Really? That's disgusting. Congratulations on your pregnancy, and if you need to stay away from her for a while for your own sake, no one should blame you. That's her fault. The OP says he has addressed the overly touchy thing and talked to her many times about embarrassing him and looking weird, which she blamed on being manic. It sounds like she has an excuse for everything she does. But they are not good excuses, nor are they reasons. After the talk, after the wedding, he educated himself on bipolar disorder and realized that that's not how it works, and physically distanced him from her, but staying in contact over the phone. Commenter 2 says NTA at all. Her behavior is abnormal, and you should leave that alone in the future, though. Your reaction was warranted, but not healthy for you. After years of it, I'm shocked you didn't call her out sooner. Hormones did that to you, though. Do that to you, though. Yeah, she finally got upset and couldn't keep herself in check anymore. Those pregnancy hormones hit hard for some people. Her family needs to intervene and seek therapy for her. Her actions and reactions are outrageous, irrational, and potentially dangerous. Yes. I've seen documentaries to be afraid of that happening, but it's not your fight. It's hers and the family's. She's in the family too, though, so it kind of is her fight also. I do highly recommend staying away from her and never allowing her near that child. Oh, for sure. Yeah, don't do that. Even watched. If she can act like that in public with everyone at a wedding, she can snap while near the child. I don't care if it makes waves with everyone. Her reaction is shows she's a danger, and she could harm the kid or even you and your husband, especially if her BPD is unmanaged as it clearly is. I discussed this. I don't think it's bipolar. I think she's borderline personality. Unfortunately, there are two BPDs. I discussed this with possibility with your husband first and have him discuss it with your in-laws. Tell them your actions make you feel unsafe and nothing will make you trust her. Express that you have tried and you absolutely love your second parents. They're always welcome, but she is not. Your husband and in-laws are awesome, though. Mine is your sister-in-law. I just want to add they are on your side. OOP says you don't have to worry. I will never breathe the same air again. Update, still December 19th, but some hours later. I just wanted to hop on here and say that my husband just got off the phone with his parents and they are extremely mad at sister-in-law. He asked me if I seriously thought she thought of him that way and this all stemmed from jealousy. Apparently, father-in-law has thought the same thing since an incident happened last year where me and mother-in-law were talking about lingerie and still locked herself upstairs the rest of the night, but he was trying to convince himself he was wrong. I told my husband I don't know if it's necessarily a physical attraction, but it's definitely jealousy. All four of them are going to sit down tomorrow and have a conversation. I'll update after that happens. For now, all is good as nobody's thinking I ruined Christmas. Well, that's good. No, you didn't. Your sister-in-law might have, but you didn't. December 20th, different next day. I just woke up and holy cow, I think I need to preface this a bit. I messed up my original post. She has bipolar disorder, not BPD. Okay. She started showing signs of depression at 15, 16. Before this, they had a normal sibling relationship. Honestly, maybe less close than most siblings. This was before my husband and I were together. It was the height of the lockdown when my husband had to return from college. Are you sure she has bipolar disorder and not borderline personality disorder? Because that would explain more things. My in-laws are essential workers and knew something was going on with her. And because my husband was home, he was tasked with watching after her. She was going to therapy at the time, I believe. Long story short, she attempted while he was home alone with her. He found her and she was committed for 7 days and virtual outpatient. This was really hard on my husband. He felt responsible because he felt like he should be watching her better. No, don't take people's actions on your own. That they do things, you can't see it coming, no matter what you do. Knowing she was struggling, this led him to overcompensate when she got home, basically waiting on her hand and foot, begging his parents to get a baby monitor, a therapist's recommendation, and even moving his bed into a room so they were sharing a room. From what she says, she hated it and teases about it to this day. Everyone got therapy after the attempt. Well, that's good. That sounds like they're on the right path here. After a couple of months, my husband was medicated for anxiety and OCD and began giving her space. And after 2 years of therapy, he no longer takes meds. Well, that's good for him. She went through a manic episode the first few months when my husband and I dated and was committed again, this time being formally diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And she still receives treatment. Is she on her meds, though? Is she receiving treatment? Or is she discounting treatment? Now for a small update. My mother-in-law called and said she didn't feel comfortable with me coming this morning for my own safety, but she didn't want me to feel like they were hiding anything from me, so she's going to call me during the conversation. Can I just say, green flags for these in-laws? They are awesome. You are so lucky, OP. She didn't want me to feel like they were okay. My husband's uncle, I think he's an uncle, to be honest. I don't know how he's related, is a psychiatrist and was there last night and is going to be there today. He was the one who suggested this intervention, so I guess he's going to mediate. He doesn't treat my sister-in-law, obviously, but he knows about her history. Even though they are on my side, I think mother-in-law and my husband think this is all some big misunderstanding. I think father-in-law, on the other hand, has been paying closer attention for a while and doesn't have the same hope. Sister-in-law is apparently pretending nothing happened and is acting normally this morning. That's not bipolar. That's not bipolar. That's something else. It ain't bipolar. My husband already left for the house, so I'll hopefully have another update soon. I probably will just comment on this post because it's getting long, but I really appreciate all the comments and showed them to my husband this morning, and he left with a better understanding of what he was dealing with. Update 3 is in the comments, same day, hours later. I don't even know how to write this out. I seriously feel like this isn't even real life, but I'm doing it now so I don't forget details, and it might be good for my own mental health to vent. Vent away, girl. Like I said, all the comments and messages to my husband early this morning before he left, including the one suggesting he might be more at fault than he or I want to believe. My mother-in-law called me as soon as my husband arrived. I muted myself and have no idea if sister-in-law had been told that I was on the phone or not. I could hear them all sit down and my sister-in-law dramatically, which caused my mother-in-law to tell her that this was serious and that her behavior was unacceptable and needed to be discussed. I'm sorry if the dialogue is hard to read, but I can't be bothered to do this more grammatically correct right now. This is obviously not going to be the exact convo, but as accurate as I remember. So, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry I hit you, okay? Uncle, this is less about your physical assault and more about why you felt you were justified to hit him at all. Phil, you are attracted to your brother. Husband crying. Please tell me if I've ever done anything to make you think that we are more than just siblings. Please, Phil, you can't really think she's attracted to husband. I do think that. I think she obviously, Phil, this is the Phil. I do think that. I think she obviously has a reason to believe it's okay to act on it, which is why we are here. Mill, we're trying to help her with whatever's going on, not to make ridiculous claims. She's acting ridiculous. The claims are ridiculous because she's acting ridiculous. Husband, what did I do? Because I moved into your room. I'm sorry. I was worried you were young and I didn't see it like that. I tried to give you as much privacy as I could. I was just scared. Still crying. No, you didn't do anything like that. I just don't like me. Oh, OP. Uncle, why don't you like OP? Sil, I just don't. Uncle, that is not an answer. What don't you like about me? Sil, she was mean to me. Mill, that's a lie. Husband, you've never been alone with her other than for bridesmaid stuff, and you were acting this way before then. Sil, it doesn't matter what I say. You think she's perfect. Husband, she's my wife. Sil, so what? She's a witch. Husband, she was a virgin when we. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a whore. Husband, she was a virgin when she met me. That doesn't make any sense. So am I. I want to say that this is always something Sil brings up. I was raised uber religious and was a virgin when I met my husband. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, and husband all try to talk at the same time, and Uncle stops them. Uncle, why does it matter that she was a virgin? Sil starts screaming, crying. Phil, yelling, I can't do this. Will you tell us what the hell is going on right now? Uncle tries to stop Phil, and I assume from standing up. Hill, Mill, and husband crying. Now, everybody's a mess, obviously. Phil, you'll be out of this house tonight if you don't explain himself. There was a long silence and lots of sniffling. This is where things get kind of rough, so I'm going to remember it as best I can. Sorry if there's any gaps. Sil says something about being naked. Uncle, when were you naked? Sil and the husband in the night the bathroom when husband found me. Okay. Husband, what? I'm sorry. I didn't dress you before the paramedics came, but I was more worried about you dying. Then he says something along the lines of playing that night over and over and never once mattered she was naked or stuck out to him. I think this is true because we talked about that night and never once has he mentioned that she didn't have clothes on. Sil starts sobbing again. Phil, you were the one who decided to attempt naked. Uncle tells Phil to calm down. So, why does it matter that you were naked? Another long pause. Mill or husband, I can't remember, asked why it mattered. Sil whispered, I chose to be naked. Phil throws something or slams something and leaves the room. Mill, you wanted him to see you naked? Husband says something along the lines of being an adult at the time and how disgusting it was, not to mention that she was his sister. Uncle, did you want husband to see you naked? I don't think she answered the question. Sil, I saw the pictures. Husband, what pictures? Sil, the pictures she gave you at the wedding. They wanted me to give to you. Then she says something about him looking at them over and over at the reception and whispering to me during our dance, and that was gross. There's a trend where each of you have your bridesmaids give you a boudoir picture to your husband during the reception. We did that. Sil refused and I accepted. That's a weird thing to do, but okay. And she didn't have to do it. She didn't want to do it and she didn't have to do it. Mill, is that why you pulled that stone at the wedding? Uncle, so what did you want to get out of this by causing trouble with your brother's marriage? Sil, I wanted him to come home. Uncle, and do what? Sil, I don't know. Uncle, yes, you do. Phil comes back in and asks her if the only reason she committed was so her brother could see her without clothes on. Mill starts chanting, no, 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 over and over. Mill says, what? Husband says, what did you think was going to happen? I was going to leave OP and be with my baby sister. Mill says she's going to be sick and Sil just cries. Uncle says something like her silence is the answer. Nobody has a choice but to believe the accusations. If she doesn't explain herself, she still didn't say anything. Phil, you need help and we can't give it to you. Sil, I just need her brother. I start panicking at this point and had to hang up. My husband called 5 minutes later and said he was coming home, that nothing was said after I hung up. He was sobbing and I have no idea what to say to him. He said he needed to go back on his meds and I agreed. There are times. He also said we were moving. I don't want to do that, but I don't know what else to do. I have no idea what's happening with Sil and my husband, and he needed some time before he could talk about it more. I've never seen him this upset over anything. I know I shouldn't, but I feel responsible. Oh, OP. I'm so sorry. You're not responsible. The sister-in-law is causing all of this. Not for marrying my husband, but maybe I did something to make her feel intentionally jealous. No, she was going to be this way with anybody, I think. I don't know. Maybe I should not have been so honest about my lack of sexual experience. Who cares? I was immature. I just don't know what to do or how to fix it. You don't need to be fixing this. She needs professional help. You can't fix her. December 20th, 3 hours after the other one. Last update for a while. Sil is going impatient. My husband called her a few hours after he returned home to formally go no contact, and I think maybe to see if this was all some kind of sick joke and she had a mental breakdown. Bringing up a specific instance when my husband had a normal male reaction after waking up in the middle of the night. And you all know what that means. He just had an erection. Men do that. They have no control over it. She saw him in the hallway on the way to the bathroom and thought that a normal male reaction to waking up was because of her. She was 14 and he was 18. Apparently, she brought it up the next morning at breakfast in front of her whole family. My husband was extremely embarrassed and hadn't even known she was even up. Of course, her parents explained that it was normal and not to spy on her teenage brother. This instance was apparently what starting her undying love. That's gross. She said it was some truly disgusting things that I will not repeat here. When my husband told her that this was all in her head and that he never thought about her like that, she threatened to commit again to make him love her again. This girl is messed up. I don't know if she can be fixed. Needless to say, the ambulance was called about an hour ago, and I couldn't imagine they wouldn't keep her there. My husband switched from confusion to rage. But I believe anything right now he's feeling is valid. Yes, his feelings about everything is valid. Rational Student is the top commenter and says, I read the warnings and still yikes. Not safe for work, not safe for general insanity. But she did get help. I mean, she's on meds for her and whatever she has. And that she was committed. So I don't know what else you can really do. I don't think they realized that her her bipolar and this are two different things, and one is not causing the other. I mean, they're calling the ambulance and getting her committed. And sometimes you don't see things when you're really close to things. So I don't think, honestly, they've been calling her out the whole time. If they're brushing it off, usually that entails like ignoring it, and I don't think they've ignored it completely. I don't think they realized how bad it was, how what she was actually feeling and why. And I don't understand why she was feeling that because that's just weird. I hope OOP's husband finds himself in a better state and feels more safe and things improve. I hope he can improve and stay healthy after all of this about his sister, and OOP is pregnant. They need some kind of help to cope. The parents, too, should dress well after this. Yeah, they all definitely need therapy. And I don't think getting her committed is shipping her off. That's exactly what you should do in a situation where somebody's threatening suicide. Is you get them committed, you call an ambulance and you get them to the hospital. But yeah, of course they're impacted by it and they do need therapy and maybe even family therapy. But right now they all need individual therapy before they do any family stuff because this is just weird, weird stuff. Somebody said they didn't read the warnings, but they left a pretty big warning out, and the one that made me go hug my sister-in-law and thank God for any problems we have because it could be so much worse. Yes. Jen Full Moon says at least this time the husband wasn't actually involved with this sexually involved with the sister. Seen enough stories on Reddit with that one already. And Old Listen says I wouldn't rule out that the sister was sexually assaulted by someone close to her, possibly way before the night boner incident. That's true. That kind of thing can really mess you up. Armadillo next says, I'm not a doctor, but I was very surprised that it apparently wasn't BPD, by borderline personality disorder. The people I know with bipolar disorder don't behave like this or have inappropriate attachments to people. And Wang Your Canoe says, agreed, this does sound more like borderline than bipolar. I agree. This sounds way more like borderline personality disorder than bipolar. But she needs to get somebody else says they have a friend with bipolar, incredible highs and lows, but not Delulu. Checked out borderline, gave it a Google, and that sounds more like sister-in-law. And borderline personality disorder is often because you don't want to think the worst about people, so it is often downplayed too. And they go with bipolar first. Really need to do better with our diagnoses, honestly. Mission Responsible says there can be multiple things going on at once, too. That's a good point. A diagnosis can be somewhat subjective. Here's a label of this collection of actions aligned with the most and the medications that are most likely to help. But in reality, people can be all over the place with their behaviors, and each doctor is just getting a snapshot of the most pressing issues at that moment. After her first hospitalization, she should have been seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist for meds regularly for a long time. True. Is there I didn't see there was an indication that that didn't happen, but it may not have. My friend had attempted a decade ago, and this is quite happily now. Still talks about to her therapist once a month, just check in and have someone in case things go south again. Hospital should not be a one and done thing. Correct. Medication also affects everyone differently, and sometimes what works can stop working. So it needs to be monitored and adjusted. Yes, exactly. And it's very hard to do that. She said, but if it's the American health care system, sigh. Exactly. It's very hard to get that. Everyone is agreeing that it's borderline and not bipolar. I think she was misdiagnosed with bipolar. I think she has borderline personality disorder, and it was dismissed. It was dismissed as simple bipolar when it's very more complicated borderline. That is wild. Okay. Now we have Made Me Smile, and I should not have done that. there. And it says that there were some packages haphazardly dumped on someone's porch. So what's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? Shoot. That's nice. What a good guy. What a good guy. I saw one the other day also that somebody said a prime truck stopped and helped them dig out of their driveway the other day. So people are being more helpful. Maybe this will catch on. Maybe this will catch on and people will stop being so crabby all of the time. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you for participating and watching and all of that good stuff. I will be back tomorrow and maybe on Saturday. Probably on Saturday because I will have the day off because my husband's going to pick up his Lego. So, have a good evening. Take care of all yourselves. I appreciate you. Bye, biddies. Bye. Let me get my cursor down. I can't do two things at once. Bye.